Japanese cinema is a rather specific thing for foreign viewers, even if you don't think of anime. The reason for this is the unique way in which Asian culture as a whole has developed, most of the time in isolation. Points of contact with the Western world were not found immediately. It happened also with the help of cinema. Not for nothing, one of the main metrics of the great Japanese director Akira Kurosawa is considered his success in his field. Kurosawa's best films that have gained recognition abroad were created in the genre of Zidaiki, the Japanese historical drama with the samurai as the main character. To this genre, we can also refer Track to Yomi, a project inspired by the paintings of the heyday of Japanese cinematography. The fact that the game will be beautiful, it became clear even with the announcement with a demonstration of graphics. For the gameplay too, it would seem there was no reason to worry. The development was indeed flying Wild Hawk, having a rich and successful experience in creating action films. What could go wrong? The game is indeed very similar to the film. Monochrome palette, camera position allowing to create effective angles with wide angles, and the plot develops according to the canons of cinematography. A young student of Samurai Hiroki is being trained by a mentor named Sanjaro, travels around his hometown, interacts with its inhabitants, and flirts with his girlfriend Eiko, the daughter of his teacher. For the first dozen minutes, you might think that this is not an action movie, but some kind of quest in historical settings. But such a peaceful beginning to the story is not at all synonymous with boredom. Thanks for this to the choice of stylists and the designers who were able to bring the idea to life. The black and white picture is not repulsive. On the contrary, it hides the weakness of the graphics, so you can simply enjoy what is happening on the screen. Everything is drawn with effort, low for detail and not without imagination. The cliché about add a frame to any screenshot and you have a ready-made picture could not be more appropriate here. Thanks to the designers, we have a really beautiful game that keeps the marks to the very end. And it is not limited to pastoral Japanese landscapes. According to all the laws of the filmmakings, soon after such a cozy instruction the drama begins, the town is attacked by robbers, killing all civilians, and Hiroki, just a young boy, has to pick up a real sword instead of a bamboo stick for training and defend his homeland. Together with his teacher, he managed to repulse the attack, but the price for this is so exorbitant. In his fight with the bandit leader, Sanjaro is mortally wounded. Before he dies, he gives one last instruction to his student, to remember his duty to protect his charges at any cost. A few years later, the grown-up Hiroki rules the settlement together with his wife, the same Yoko to whom he was carrying candy in his first chapter. He is not a bad ruler. The lesson of Sanjuro were not in vain. The problems, however, remain the same. The brigands attack again and the samurai has to pick up his sword and go to the battlefield. This is where the main part of the story begins, and we are finally given the opportunity to use our weapons handling skills to the fullest. Visual style aside, Track to Yomi is a typical side-scrolling slasher. The picture is three-dimensional, but the levels are made in such a way that during the battles you can only move in two directions, right and left. Sometimes the designers place with angles, allowing Hiroki to run or climb in other directions, but these scenes are rare and clearly created for the sole purpose of enhancing the cinematography. In battles, everything is much simpler. The main characters move along a horizontal plane and fight enemies that appear from two sides. Opponents almost always attack one from each flank, while the rest wait their turn. The combat system is also straightforward. Two types of sword strikes, blocking and shooting from 3 types of long-range weapons, the ammunition of which is very limited. Attacks can be combined into combos in the desired sequences, which Hiroki gradually learns as he progresses. And it is precisely with the combat interact to Yomi that the biggest problem are. Yes, they are a combination, but it is not necessary to use them at all. Any enemy, including bosses, can be killed with ordinary blows. Only it will take more time. The development of Hiroki's skills with a katana is almost imperceptible. We are informed about the appearance of the new technique, but if you ignore this, then the player is unlikely to lose anything. Opponents will not come as surprise either. There are several types of them, each endeavor with unique behavior and combat tactics, but you can resist them without much difficulty. Much more problems are caused not by enemies but by the checkpoint system, because of which you have to go through the same battle several times if the main character dies far from the save point. There are few spectacular battle scenes. The first skirmishes looks beautiful, but this is more a sign of style in general, and not a merit of the combat system. They do not greatly improve the situation of the battle with the bosses, where it is enough to learn the tactics of the enemy in order to win without much difficulty. Thank you for the fact that the checkpoints in these dots are located nowhere. From time to time, they try to entertain the player with simple puzzles and changing the condition of battles. If the first looks completely out of the place, then the second on the contrary. I want more. Ordinary fights get bored. Fighting on the collapsing bridge and running through a shower of fire arrows brings some review to the like-for-like battles, but there are too few such scenes. Unlike the combat system, the development of which an inattentive player may not notice at all. For example, I missed or forgot the key combination for rolling and did not use this technique, which did not prevent me from cracking down on enemies. The plot in Track to Yomi in the middle of the game comes out beyond the standard story. Enemies burned their own head. An injured Hiroki travels delirious through Yomi, the realms of death, where he confronts his sins and fears. For a true samurai, defending himself and his weakness is more important than winning in a battle. And the question of duty, the very one that his teacher spoke about on his deathbed, is not limited to the murder of the main enemy. Watching Hiroki mental turmoil is much more interesting than beating ex-robbers or ghosts with a sharp iron stick. Moreover, the already unbroken historical surroundings are shifting towards Asian mythology with a diverse pantheon of mythical creatures. The plot has a development, but the gameplay practically freezes at the level of the first chapter. This is the main disadvantage of Track to Yomi. Pros of the game is original visual style, development of the protagonist story, and cons is a primitive combat system. Monotony is opposite. Thank you for watching.